Hello, my name is Stephen Loera, and this week's theme is History of Education and Resegregation for Dr. Cleveland Hayes, Education 477B, Fall of 2015. Okay, so the very first theme that was addressed under History of Education is the idea that our educational system is outdated. It's based on a model from over 150 years ago from the King of Prussia, Frederick II. Essentially, what the video is arguing is that our current school system is preparing students for an economy that's no longer existent. So, meatpacking industry, for example, or certain factory jobs. The educational system in the past was geared toward ethics, duty, discipline, and obedience. There's not an element of creativity involved anymore. Additionally, as a result of that, inquiry and collaboration are not encouraged. This made me think back to my experience in 407, and we read read an article and watched a video, Globalization 3.0 with Thomas Friedman, and essentially he argues the same case, that our economy has evolved rapidly within the past 10-15 years. And we need to create students who are oftentimes let me go back a little bit. Thomas Friedman argues that students now need to be driven with technology or educated with a sense of technology. Otherwise, our economy or our citizens will be left behind. So I also made this connection to last week's article that we read, essentially arguing the same thing, that our educational system is modeled after a factory for factory jobs. The History of Education video we saw today, Globalization 3.0 with Thomas Friedman, are all arguing that we need to innovate or integrate technology into the classroom. I want to talk slightly about my school site experience. I'm a new teacher at Norton Space and Aeronautics Academy in San Bernardino. It's a charter school through the Lewis Center. I teach 7th and 8th grade, Spanish language arts, and social studies. So thinking back to how my school site is run, it has traditional scheduling, so 1 through 6 periods, 55-minute long periods. However, the school is a one-to-one technology school, so every student from the 4th grade up has a laptop. So this has made it a lot easier for me to facilitate lesson plans with technology, more inquiry-based lesson plans, where first I offer a direct instruction element where I show students or I model for students how to look for resources, for example, and then they integrate it into their lessons, where they're looking up answers online and using technology. It's also a dual immersion school. I teach Spanish language arts, and social studies is also done in Spanish, and it's so impressive to see these young students who may not be Hispanic learning these two languages. I think in that respect, Norton Space and Aeronautics, NSAA, has really taken on the role of offering a 21st century education to students with technology and the realization that knowing more than one language is beneficial. Okay, so the next video we watched, schools and resegregation. One of my big takeaways was that the person presenting argued that while schools are no longer all white, they still are all black. And as a result of this, there's subpar education going on for black and brown students. So there's a lack of resources, a lack of qualified teachers. And I remember even when I was looking for a job and I was applying at certain school districts, people would tell me, "Oh, don't apply there. You don't want to work with those students." And I found that interesting, especially even coming from other Hispanic individuals. Also, one of the other major themes discussed was that as a result of this lack of education or lack of resources, these students become disadvantaged when entering college. On the right hand side I have a map that I pulled up online, just some slight research showing the 20 most segregated states for black students, and I found California at 8%. Going back to my school site experiences, the second day of school we had parent conferences. Back to school night, and parents new to the school, second day of school, and parents come up to me and say that they were disappointed that NSAA was not going to be extended through 12th grade. I guess that was a promise made to parents when their kids signed on. I had three or four parents who came up to me and addressed that concern with me. Then that night I went home and did some research about the schools in the area, and so on the right I have statistics for a high school in San Bernardino. So enrollment is over 2,800 students, and you see that predominantly Hispanic, followed by African American students. Of these students, over 2,500 are on free or reduced lunch. So here I can see the concern of parents for their students, for their children, going to a school that's for the most part segregated. They understand the lack of resources, the lack of qualified teachers. So this just showed to me, after watching the video, something clicked in my brain and saying, well, yeah, this certainly does exist today. First-hand experience. I have parents coming up to me with concerns about their children going to certain schools because they're aware of the lack of resources presented at these school sites. So overall, major themes: we have an outdated school system that needs to be revamped if we're to keep up in the 21st century. And while schools are no longer outright segregated, there is a high element of segregation in these schools. I've seen that personally now, and these schools have resources, lack of funding, and in some cases present challenges to students, especially if they're transitioning from where I'm at now back into San Bernardino School District. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.